humiliation in life that we never forget. The Super Bowl champion of embarrassing moments. Think Janet Jackson. I grew up in Louisville, Texas, a middle-class suburb of Dallas. While some kids spent their summer vacation at camps, on lakes, or at the very least the community pool, I spent mine poring over Christy Brinkley's operating manual, How to Look Like a Model. I studied its glossy pages like a student preparing for my dissertation. I wanted to be a model, and not just for myself. There were many who deemed me beautiful, and I felt I owed it to them too. At 16, I was 5'10", 120 pounds, and I'm not going to talk about my bra size. I had been voted sophomore and junior duchess. I knew my place amongst the jocks, the nerds, the burnouts, and I enjoyed the view from up on high as I looked down on my adoring subjects. Senior year was primed to be a royal cakewalk to the ultimate crown, homecoming queen. At the time, this was serious business. Signing each other's yearbooks as we said our goodbyes for summer vacation. After junior year, we all knew the crown would be mine when we returned in the fall. My acceptance speech was all but written, and my glorious future was laid out before me like my homecoming cape. My star linebacker boyfriend and I would get married after graduation, and our first child was going to be named Rush after the rock band. This was the roadmap of my life, and it was happening just as planned. That summer, however, my body went rogue. I mysteriously packed on 30 pounds, developed a goiter in my neck, and almost overnight suffered from a serious case of bug eyes. My mother had her theories about what was causing the sudden change. For a while, she was determined that I had a bacterial infection that I had caught tubing down the Rio Grande. Not long after that, she knew in her heart of hearts that the chemicals used to perm my hair were ruining my looks. My favorite theory, however, and the one that stuck the longest, was simply my cat. My parents took me to a specialist in Dallas. As I sat in his cold office, barely covered by a paper gown, he examined my body, feeling the goiter in my throat, checking under my arms for swollen lymph nodes and around my breasts for possible cancerous lumps. While he was conducting his exam, he whispered to me, "I can see why your mother is so upset. I can tell you used to be so beautiful." Though I didn't, it's true, though I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing it, at that moment I broke into pieces. Life was never going to be the same for me, and I knew it. I was diagnosed with a severe case of Graves' disease, and the doctors ultimately had me drink radioactive iodine to kill my thyroid, which had decidedly gone berserk. This was followed by all sorts of medication to replace what they destroyed with poison, so that what was left of my abnormal gland could function. It was a scary time as we attempted to regulate my body with chemicals, and I absolutely didn't feel or look like myself. Meanwhile, I prayed for a miracle to keep me... That's my other sister, Beth. I prayed for a miracle to keep me out of school, but God wasn't listening. As I drove to class on the first day of my senior year, it dawned on me that I was an anonymous participant in what used to be my life. I was terrified to face my peers. The responsibility I had felt prior to my fellow students to be beautiful and to be their queen was now replaced with utter fear and self-loathing. Walking through the hallways that early September morning was the first time in my life I wished no one would notice me. Some of my classmates stared too long, while others averted their eyes. I could hear the whispers of concern coming from every direction, and my head was spinning. Surprisingly, out of the kindness, or pity, I'm not sure which one, my peers nominated me for homecoming queen anyways. It was a real shocker. But this was Texas, and let's get real, I knew in my heart I was not going to be crowned queen. I went to the homecoming game anyways with my father as my escort, thank you, decked out in one of Louisville's finest dresses and wearing 2 gargantuan corsages made of mums. So there's one here, pinned to my chest, complete with streamers that hung to the ground. You all know them. They're dangerous. The queen was to be crowned at halftime. When the time came, I made my way down the bleachers to take my place with the other nominees. As I descended, I stepped on one of the streamers, ripped a mum out of my dress, and tumbled down the steps. I knew that I could either fake a serious injury or get up off the ground, brush myself off, and make my way onto that field. I mustered every shred of dignity I had, and I got up. Limping, I made my way to the 50-yard line. It was the most humiliating moment of my life. The Queen was announced, and it was not me. Surprise. She was beautiful, nice, and gracious, and my dear friend. I couldn't even hate her. All of that practice to walk like Christy came crashing down. The one thing I depended on, my looks, had turned on me and sent me plummeting down the stadium steps in front of the entire town. And at a young, impressionable age, it seemed like the world was coming to an end. 17 years later, I was living in Los Angeles. My body had gone through changes due to my Graves' disease, but I regained a sense of self. Granted, I was no runway model, nor did I want to be, but I was healthy, active, and very much in charge of my life. One night I went out to dinner with a friend who brought along a woman I had never seen, or had never met, actually. The moment I met her, her name was Erin, I knew she was from my past, had one of those, I know you from somewhere. I asked her where she was from, and she said, I like to think of myself from the East Coast, but I had a small stint in a podunk town called Louisville. And I was like, that's where I'm from! And I wanted to take her on, right to the dinner. And I choked on my Chardonnay, and I said, oh my God, I'm from Louisville. You know, that's rare in LA to find someone from Louisville. She asked me to repeat my name, and I said, and I told her again, and it was if she had seen a ghost. She's like, oh my God, you're Andrea Buchanan. I can't believe it. My God, my face flushed at her discovery. I wasn't sure where she was going with this. I mean, she said, you used to be so beautiful. Not that you're not beautiful now. She stammered. She should stammer. But you were the girl we all wanted to be. You were so perfect. No pressure. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. She went on to tell me that she'd been a misfit. Bone thin, 6 feet tall, pale skin and black hair. She had found herself in a sea of blondes when her parents moved to our town. She used to hang out in the Freaks courtyard and smoke cigarettes, counting the days until she could leave Texas. And when she got sick, I was so upset, she said. It just seemed like you were in so much pain. My friends and I tried to figure out what happened to you, because back then, you had set the bar for what was possible in life. If you weren't happy and perfect, then what were my chances? Erin, choking back tears, went on. One day in homeroom, you gave me a glance, and it felt like you were really seeing me, that you somehow understood me. You seemed to understand what it was like to be a misfit, and that gave me a big dose of courage, strength, and confidence. I have never forgotten that. She then explained the perfect irony. When Erin left Louisville, she moved to New York and became a Calvin Klein model. Ah, the injustice. That night, Erin helped me realize that I needed to heal the shame I had felt for what happened to me and learn to laugh about the humiliation I experienced on the field that night. Through the embarrassment, I had transformed the path of my life. I went beyond the surface in almost everything I did in my work, my relationships, and how I viewed the world. Through the pain, I have learned compassion for anybody suffering something out of their control. Why am I crying? I think it's because I'm home. And the night I met Erin, I truly learned that reaching within yourself to find solace, peace, and love heals you from humiliation. When we are knocked down, we sometimes see things more clearly below the haze of lost perspective. Note to self, losing your crown can be the luckiest moment in your life. Thank you. Hi there. How you doing? I'm very good. I'm Audrey. Audrey. And are you your friends? Okay. Oh, look at all your friends. This is where I get it. This is where I get having so many friends from you.
Oh, no. I have so many friends because I belong to the Y, thank goodness.
Yeah.